I work at the VA Greater Los Angeles Healthcare System, and I'm excited to present my team's idea, Sleep, a Bridge to Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Treatment. So I'd like to ask everyone to take a moment and picture a veteran in their mind. For many of us, this might not be the first image that pops into our head, and it wasn't for me until I started working in a VA women's mental health clinic. The reality is there are 2 million women veterans nationwide. That's roughly the size of Houston, Texas. Additionally, women veterans experience post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, at high rates, with many women veterans having experienced a trauma in their lifetime, and 1/4 of women veterans have experienced military sexual trauma. I realized very quickly upon working in a women's mental health clinic the reality and the prevalence of post-traumatic stress disorder. One of my first patients was a young woman veteran. When she first came into treatment, she had told me that she had a history of military sexual trauma, combat exposure, and she was constantly thinking about these traumatic events. Additionally, she felt disconnected from her family, and she was constantly on guard and looking over her shoulder. But by far, her most debilitating symptom was her insomnia. She hadn't had a good night's sleep in years, and it made all of these other symptoms worse. It impacted every domain of her life, and that's when I realized the huge negative impact of trauma-related insomnia among women veterans. So how do we get women veterans with PTSD the care they deserve? The good news is we have highly effective therapies for PTSD. The bad news is women veterans engage in these therapies at low rates. So to solve this problem, we must first understand it. There are a number of barriers that get in the way of women veterans initiating and completing PTSD treatment. One of them is just symptom severity. If women have a difficult time getting out of bed, of course it's going to be difficult for them to get to their appointments. Also, there's a lot of stigma around PTSD, so asking for help is very challenging. On top of that, there are just logistical barriers. The 8 to 4:30 VA schedule doesn't work for our women veterans who are mothers, who are going to school. And we live in Los Angeles, where getting from the valley to the west side at certain parts of the day is not a joke. This is where our idea to use cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI, comes in. CBTI works from the idea that poor sleep is maintained from the cycle of poor sleep behaviors, which contribute to unhelpful and maladaptive thoughts about sleep, which lead to negative emotions as a result of not sleeping. CBTI attempts to provide patients with more adaptive thought strategies and change their behavior in an adaptive manner to break this cycle and improve sleep. Relating back to our initial problem, we believe CBTI can function as a bridge to PTSD treatment by providing rapid symptom relief in 1 to 2 sessions. Additionally, because most people have had a sleep problem in their life, it's less stigmatized than PTSD. And because the VA has already developed a free online version of CBTI, it's easily accessible. And if women veterans have a positive experience with insomnia treatment, it's only going to be more likely to increase their buy-in for further treatment. Here's what we want to do. We want to offer our women veterans with PTSD and insomnia more choices by screening the patients in our clinic for both insomnia and PTSD. Currently in the clinic, women who screen positive are referred for PTSD treatment. We want to offer 2 additional treatment options: in-person insomnia treatment and online insomnia treatment. We believe that women who select insomnia treatment initially will be connected with care more quickly, experience greater reductions in sleep symptoms, and ultimately over time, attend more mental health appointments. Our short-term plan is to pilot an intervention with approximately 60 patients to increase treatment engagement, with the long-term impact of improving the quality of life of women veterans and implementing this intervention across multiple sites. We have high demand or a high need for treatment. We have a powerful intervention in CBTI, with it being one of the most powerful interventions we have in psychology. We have expertise in the delivery of CBTI, as well as available trained interventionists. What we need is help with project coordination, as well as reserving our interventionist time, and we also need assistance with web consultation and analyzing our findings, which results in a final ask of $105,000. The reach of this intervention can move from our initial place here within Los Angeles to across the nation through other VA sites throughout the country. Additionally, when you help a woman veteran, she's very rarely just taking care of herself. So the ripple effect of helping women veterans is going to be enormous. Thank you so much for your time, and we welcome any questions.
Time is 5 minutes and 23 seconds.
Okay. That was awesome. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, like I got the feeling like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. She is the expert on this topic.
I think it was a good transition from the PTSD to the assignment.
Okay,
And
cool.
how it correlated, not just switch on.
Thank you. I've been really working on that, so I appreciate that.
Very polished.
Thanks. There's a few formatting things that don't translate, so I'm really glad we're having you practicing things. So I can be like, oh, those dots aren't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So.
I've got nothing bad to say.
Oh my gosh.
Or half one of us. I have a couple of comments, not bad. Number one, you use the term additionally, consistently and constantly. I wrote it down 1, 2, at least 3 times. So just be careful of that. There was one of your slides, the one with the Houston, the number of Houston.
Yeah.
That transition wasn't smooth.
Yeah, I got tripped up and said PTSD instead of trauma.
I'll go back to where you had the Houston slide. There. So you say there's women veterans, there's 2 million, which is the size of Houston, and then you go right into the traumatics, but I didn't see how that related back to Houston and the 2 million.
I delete Houston, I agree.
Houston, I think Houston originally started as like, there's a lot of women veterans, but maybe 2 million.
Well,
communities.
I think it was like 2 million is the size of Houston. That's how big it is. So we were trying to say, you know, how many people that really is, because 2 million versus all the people in Houston.
You can still say the Houston, you don't need the picture.
Okay.
I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then it's more impactful about, boy, of 2 million, 80%, which is, like 140 or 1.4 million, had traumatic, but you don't have to say that, but I'm just saying, the Houston part is throwing me off.
Okay.
The Houston picture or the Houston mention?
Oh, well, I think when you were describing this slide, when you were running through your presentation, it didn't connect well to, there's 2 million, the size of Houston, additionally 80% have experienced traumatic. It's not additionally, and it's of those.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it was.
That's helpful.
And again, it came up in the response to trauma that you said additionally.
Okay.
Then on your triad circle slide, where you said something about 4 to 6 sessions.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I don't know if that's helpful or not.
I don't know if it's helpful, but because you didn't mention it, I just saw it, so.
Yeah, well, I want to tell people how long it is, but where I get tripped up is immediately after this I say rapid relief, and people can get relief in 1 to 2 sessions. So I didn't know if I didn't want people to be like, I'm saying this is how long the treatment is, but a lot of people responded to session 1 to 2. So I think I have to work on that.
You could just say between 1 to 6 sessions.
Oh, okay.
Because different people respond differently.
You ever finish CBT at session 1?
I've done it in 2 and then a phone follow-up.
Okay, so three total sessions is your personal minimum.
That's my personal minimum, yeah.
I mean, even 6 is a short number. So people's mental model of mental health who don't know CBT think therapy takes years.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So I would lose it from this slide,
Uh-huh.
and on the next slide, I would say,
Rapid relief.
people get better fast. What's the time duration between sessions of CBT?
They're weekly sessions,
Right. I'm talking really fast, like less than 6 weeks.
Okay.
And all you have to do is, you know, if that statement is accurate for the vast majority, for what percentage of people who go at week 6 will have significant symptom improvement?
They asked me this last time, and I still have to get that percentage. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Once you get that number,
Yeah.
assuming it's high, weave that into this slide.
Okay.
But for most of the audience, less than 6 weeks is light speed
Okay.
for change of behavior.
Okay.
It doesn't, you know, even, you know, having gone through medical school and everything, it just still is amazing to me that in 6 weeks you've had any kind of impact, you know, and it's amazing. So I think it's very powerful to people who don't know anything about it. You know.
Yeah, I'm a psychologist, we talked about this, you're a psychologist?
Yes.
Okay, great. My thought is, go to your next slide where you have the, is this the one with the, I'm looking
Yeah.
for what your what is your therapy, hold on. So it's the slide before has what the therapy is with the bridge, and then the one before this one. The thing that I think from listening to an audience that doesn't know kind of what's happening in the room, I think that the 1 to 6 is key, but then it's like
You're trying to be like, what does CBT actually look like?
kind of like my gut, like knowing CBT, it's like, we're having conversations about this, or we're looking at their emotions, like turning it, like, this is very technical, and I'm wondering if this works in this fundamental way, by looking at helping the patients name their own negative emotions that are causing, you know, letting them go, mindfulness, whatever the way, is there a way to just say, in your 6-week session,
I mean,
this
I
would
could do
happen?
like a bullet point of like we do. I mean, the problem is when I open that floodgate, it's like, okay, there's stimulus control with like you're only treating your bed for sleep. Like, I don't know how jargony to
No,
get.
I think it should be really, like, you gotta paint a picture, I think. When we sit with a person who makes the time for 6 weeks, 1 to 6 weeks with me, they're gonna create their room to be calm, they're going to do this, we're gonna discuss this. Is there, I don't know if you can do that, and obviously throw it out if it doesn't work, but it's like, this is very psychological, like, my training kind of way, versus an average person who.
I guess my question would be for people who aren't therapists, what is your thoughts around this?
Disagree, this was really.
You got that?
simple.
Okay, great, then that's fine.
This
Yeah.
made sense to me and showing the vicious cycle, that, like negative emotions, I can connect to that, negative thoughts, you don't have to, like, explain it to me.
What about adaptive thought responses and adaptive behavioral change, do those communicate to you? Okay,
Yeah,
great, then.
not so much.
Or
Okay.
could you say changing
I get the
thoughts,
middle
changing
two.
Changing
behaviors?
thoughts, just change that, but like vicious cycle is clear enough for me.
Yeah,
but
because I
it
mean, I
makes sense.
essentially present the cognitive triad to people like during my orientation to treatment. Like this is like, yeah. I mean, I guess I could think about it. Just struggling with how complex to be in terms of
Yeah,
describing it.
you and I were talking about this last time. Couple of thoughts, do you have a spelling error on response on one of your
Oh.
first slides? Go back, it's the title slide, I just want you to grab that, there, right there,
This one's
responses
perfect.
to
Okay.
trauma.
Awesome, thank you.
The other thought, just to consider, is maybe you wanna make the word insomnia larger, because your words say that takes over all the other ones.
Yeah, I tried, yes, so just, so there's a formatting thing that won't translate with this one.
Okay,
But
that's
yeah, I
fine.
have it, so when I click on insomnia, then all the other colors.
Then just make it caps,
Make it caps?
because if you can't, that way it'll be bigger.
Okay, okay.
Thinking about transitions, you might have the same issue on main screen too. We will
Yeah.
come in early and test things, but there might be things that don't
Yeah.
play out the way they do in your
Yeah.
personal computer. So
I think
just
so.
keeping that in mind.
Yes.
And one of my thoughts is, you say really, I work in a sleep clinic, all this, and so like kinda, now that you convinced me on your art, I was kind of like, who is she? Is she a doctor? And I was like, no, she's a PhD. And then I was like, okay, she's a psychologist.
I'm a clinical psychologist.
Okay, great. I think at some point that adds so much, like I kind of was like making it all up based on your expertise, but and I'm sure they're gonna introduce us, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We will. So we will do introductions and mention where you're from, what your maybe official title is. But just keep the first slide that you had, just being really nitpicky, the font is pretty small.
Yeah.
Bigger.
But
Okay.
yes.
I can do
because,
that.
yeah, everything else was great, but
one more thing, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, no, no.
There was one other thing, on your insomnia, keep going.
I'm getting anywhere.
Keep going. This one. I'm wondering, no, maybe it's not it's the link insomnia to PSD treatment. I'm wondering, one of these, it may be the next slide, in the treatment mode, if you wanna, you talk about if you get insomnia treatment, that may make them more open to PTSD treatment.
Yeah.
I wonder, it's not this slide, I don't remember where it is, that you might wanna link it, I think it was the circles or something, you may wanna think about linking that back to PTSD treatment then.
So like maybe doing like another, and these people might go on to do, like make it clear that this is like.
Yeah, just, you know, it wasn't this slide, I think it was your circles, your
Okay.
circle slide, but one of the slides, or maybe it was even before this.
Okay.
Just saying, you know, boy, if they get this, then maybe it will then take some of them over to the PTSD slide.
Okay.
But that was, you know, that's, you don't have to do that, but I thought your slides were great.
Okay.
And then, can you go back to where it splits, when you talk about the,
What I need.
yeah, there, this one back, sorry, when it splits into the 3 that, positive screenings go to.
Oh, yeah.
When you were originally, talking about it, I guess just remember to say that the insomnia treatment is to help get the patients to do the
that's
PTSD
what-
treatment.
Yeah.
Because not only was the phrasing something that I had a bit of an issue with, it's also the way you have it formatted. It seemed like they choose one of the 3 and then continued from there and didn't go to the other 2.
Right, and that's what I was saying, to
Yeah.
link it back possibly to
To the
PTSD
PTSD.
treatment.
I think that I can definitely do that. Thank you, that's really helpful.
Yeah, this was the slide.
Okay. All right, thank you, everyone.